In this video, we're going to be discussing constructing triangles. So our essential questions: how can you tell if three side lengths will create a triangle? And how can you tell if three angle measurements will create a triangle? So in this video, we're focusing on the requirements for creating an actual triangle. What has to be true in order for a triangle to even exist? So how can you tell if three side lengths will create a triangle? Because not all lengths will create a triangle. I can't just take three random lengths and put them together and always create a triangle. So how can you tell if three side lengths that you're given will actually create a triangle? Well, what we have to look at is the lengths of the two shorter sides compared to the longest side. And the sum of the two shorter sides has to be greater than the sum of the third side. So if I add the two short sides together and it's longer than the third side, then it will create a triangle. Pretty easy to do that. So let's take a closer look at how that works and what that means. On the left-hand side, I have three lengths of line segments: 6 centimeters, 4 centimeters, and 7 centimeters. Now, based on what we know, we should be able to create a triangle out of these three side lengths, because the two shorter sides, the 6 centimeter side and the 4 centimeter side, together, when I add them together, their sum is greater than the longest side. So 6 plus 4 is 10 centimeters. That's longer than 7 centimeters. So this should create a triangle, and let's try to do that. I'm going to manipulate these side lengths here, see if I can arrange these to create a triangle. Let me see if I can line these up here. So I can rotate that to try to create a triangle here. I put that side length here and rotate that one. You can see that if I kind of just play around with these lengths here, that eventually I could get these to meet and they'll line up, and I can create a triangle out of these three side lengths. And there you have it there. So you can see I created a triangle here that is 6 centimeters, 4 centimeters, and 7 centimeters. So here's that. Where's my AB? AB is right here. 6 centimeters, 4 centimeters, and 7 centimeters. That will create a triangle. So when the two shorter sides add up to something longer than the third side, that will create a triangle. Now on the right hand side here, I have a 2 centimeter, a 3 centimeter, and a 6 centimeter side lengths. And these should not create a triangle, because if I add the two shorter sides together, 2 centimeters plus 3 centimeters, it is not greater than the third side. So that's 6 centimeters. That's not going to be enough length here to get me a triangle. So I'm going to try to create a triangle here. Let's see if I can arrange these. And you can probably see that it doesn't matter how I arrange these, they're not ever going to meet. They're too short. So you can see why these two side lengths have to add up to something longer than the longest side, because if they're not longer, they're not going to meet. There's not going to be enough side length there for them to ever meet. So this will not create a triangle. That's an impossible triangle. So you can see that if we have two side lengths that are not as long as the third side, that won't create a triangle. But if the two shorter sides are longer than the third side, then we will have a triangle. And another thing to note there, that if we can create a triangle, if the lengths create a triangle, it will be a unique triangle. That means there's only one way to make that triangle. So if I have a triangle that is 6 centimeters, 4 centimeters, and 8 centimeters or 7 centimeters, that's the only triangle we can create from those three side lengths. There's no other way to do it. So if everybody makes a 6 centimeter, 4 centimeter, and 7 centimeter triangle, they'll all look identical. They will all be congruent triangles, because that's the only way to do it. So you will create a unique triangle if you have those measurements. So let's determine if these side lengths will create a triangle. So I've got three side lengths here, and if I try to rearrange these segments, will I eventually create a triangle? Well, if I look at the longest side here, that's 11 inches. And then if I look at the two shorter sides, 9 inches and 10 inches, and if I add those together, that's 19 inches, which is greater than the third side. So we can say yes, we will be able to create a triangle out of those three sides. I'm not going to do it, but I just want you to be able to tell from the side lengths if you could create a triangle. And yes, these three side lengths, we could rearrange those into a triangle. Let's take a look at the next one, 23 millimeters, 6 millimeters, and 7 millimeters. Will I ever be able to create a triangle out of these three line segments? Well, if I look at this long segment, 23 millimeters, and I look at the two shorter sides lengths, 6 millimeters and 7 millimeters, I can talk. If I add those together, that's 13 millimeters, and that is not going to be long enough to span that 23 millimeters. So if you can think of it like building a bridge over a river, this longest side is like the width of the river, and these are the pieces that I have to create a bridge. Am I going to be able to create a bridge over that 23 millimeter side length to create like a triangle? Am I going to be able to bridge that? And I don't have enough side length to do that. So these two sides are actually going to be too short. So this will not create a triangle. We're going to end up something, like this, where they're not ever going to meet. So no, those three side lengths would not create a triangle. So let's take a look at these three side lengths here that we're given. And here we're not given a visual, so we can't really see them, but we can tell from the numbers and the measurements if this is going to create a triangle. So here I have the longest side is 40 meters, and the two shorter sides, is there enough bridge to cover the longest side? So that's how I kind of think of that. Is there enough bridge? So 20 meters and 14 meters, if I put that together, that's 34 meters of bridge. And am I going to be able to cover that 40-meter side? And I don't. So this is not going to be able to create a triangle. I would not create a triangle out of those three side lengths. It's impossible. And then finally, if we look at these three side lengths, I find the longest one, 22.6 feet. So that is kind of my river, and I need to build a bridge over that. So the two shorter sides, if I add the two shorter sides together, I get 31 feet. Is that going to be enough bridge to cover that third side? And the answer to that is yes. It will bridge the third side, so I could create a triangle out of these three side lengths. So not that difficult to tell from three side length measurements if you are able to create a unique triangle or an impossible triangle. It just won't happen. So that's how you can tell from side lengths if you can create a triangle at all. How can you tell from angle measurements if you'll be able to create a triangle out of three given angle measurements? Well, the angles of a triangle we know add up to 180 degrees. So any combination of angles that add up to 180 degrees will create a triangle. Now remember, you have to have three angles, so I can't have a 90 and a 90 and create a triangle out of that because that's only two angles. So any three angles that add up to 180 degrees will create a triangle. Now, this is different than with the side lengths because if I am able to create a triangle out of three angles, it will not be unique. I will not have a unique triangle. So if, like for example, this one here, 90 degrees, 45 degrees, and 45 degrees, that will create a triangle, but it won't create one specific triangle. I can create a lot of triangles out of these three measurements because we're going to be able to create maybe a bigger one, a smaller one. So I can create triangles of all different sizes that have these three angles. So it will not create a unique triangle, but it will create a triangle. So again, here I have 130 degrees, 15 degrees, and 35 degrees. These three angles add up to 180 degrees, but they create a triangle, but not a unique triangle because this smaller one here has the same angle measurements, or this larger one has the same angle measurements, but they're not unique. So that's what's different about creating triangles out of angles. You're not determining a unique triangle. You're just creating a possible triangle. So they could all be different sizes. It will not be unique because the side lengths could be larger or smaller. So let's take a look at some angles here and see if we could possibly create triangles out of these angle measurements. So here I have a 40-degree angle, a 60-degree angle, and an 80-degree angle. And if I just kind of rearrange these pieces together, would I be able to create a triangle out of that? Well, the easiest way to tell is just to add these all together. And 40 plus 60 is 100. 100 plus 80 is 180 degrees. So yes, these three angles would create a triangle. I would be able to create a triangle out of those three. Next, I have 90 degrees, 90 degrees, and 10 degrees. This is impossible because when I add these together, I get 190 degrees. And that is too much. So you can see if I tried to put these two together, I'm actually just going to create a square, and I'm not going to be able to get a triangle out of that. So this is a big no. Can't create a triangle out of those three angle measurements. And then here, again, we're not given a visual, but we are given numbers. So how can we determine if these three angles would possibly create a triangle? Well, we'll just add them together. And if you add these together, you get 179 degrees. Now that's close to 180, but not close enough. This will not create a triangle. This is an impossible triangle. There is no triangle that has those three angle measurements, so we can't create a triangle out of those. And then finally, we have angles X, Y, and Z. We have 8 degrees, 112 degrees, and 60 degrees. Would we be able to create a triangle out of these three? And again, if we add these angle measures together, you get 180 degrees. So yes, you could create a triangle out of those three measurements. So easy to tell from given side lengths if you can create a triangle, and easy to tell if you're given three angle measures if you can create a triangle or if the triangle is impossible.